This is where Francis Crick's joke about Orgel's second rule comes in. Evolution is cleverer than you are. Notice this is not intelligent design. Francis Crick would not assert that intelligent design is true. What he is saying is evolution, the process, is mindless and stupid and purposeless, but the designs that it comes up with are breathtakingly brilliant, ingenious beyond description. The products are brilliant, the process is not. And it is the process of evolution that is responsible for the cleverness of these moves. What I want to say is that the wild memes of religion got themselves domesticated. They acquired stewards who were prepared to devote their lives to their flourishing. Once the memes of religion become domesticated, now they're for something. Aurochses were just for aurochses, for making more aurochses, but dairy cattle are for us. We own them. And once domesticated God memes came into existence, we could start thinking about what they might be useful for. I've run out of time, so I will just mention a few things that everybody knows about. No, everybody doesn't know about Julian Jaynes' brilliant idea that memes are basically, that religious God memes are basic. One of the main purposes of them is to help us with decision making. He imagines it was very hard for people to make up their mind, and they needed a sort of super-duper coin flipper to convince them to stick to a decision once they'd made it. And they hit upon many methods, basically consisting of ask the gods what to do, and the gods will tell you. You don't have to understand why it works. You're still the beneficiary. It makes you more resolute, and it might actually be better than a coin flip. Doesn't have to be. It makes you resolute. Or as placebo effect props, I won't go into that. It's an interesting story, but I go there because I want to remind you of everybody's favorite, which is as surrogate police. The story they tell about a little town in Maine where when you enter the town, there's a sign saying, welcome to Brooksville. And then there's another sign which says, your speed controlled by radar. And somebody asks one of the selectmen, says, gee, that must be pretty expensive. He said, no, it cost about $5. What? I got a piece of plywood and I painted it and I wrote the sign. That's all. You don't actually have to have the radar. You just have to have the sign that says speed controlled by radar. So that's certainly one of the uses that God memes have been put to. So my claim in the book is that organized religions descended from folk religions, which were wild. And when we became conscious, deliberate stewards of our ideas, this changed everything. Here's a famous case, the cuckoo chick. It doesn't know what it's doing, but it's the beneficiary. Cuckoos, as you know, are parasites. And the first thing they do when they hatch is they try to push all the other eggs out of the nest. It's very purposive, but they don't understand why they're doing it. But the rationale is unmistakable. It's what I call a free-floating rationale. It's Mother Nature's rationale. It's in order to maximize the food intake of the parasite, and the host birds will come and feed it. The chick has a tiny little brain. The chick doesn't understand this at all. Many of the means of organized religion, many of the adaptations of organized religion are like this, in that the people who engage in these behaviors are completely innocent. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. They have no evil intent, but the strategies they are employing nevertheless have very powerful effects in preserving their religion in spite of in the face of contest. There's one big difference, and this is the one I want to point out. When we become stewards of our religious memes, because we have those big reflective brains, we can understand these rationales. The cuckoo chick can't be embarrassed or ashamed, but a human being can. And one of the points of my book is to show some of the adaptations for organized religion that have arisen and draw to people's attention the fact that they have rationales that may not be entirely as presentable as they thought. Who benefits? When folk religions became organized religions, there was a shift from the free-floating rationales to the represented rationales. The rationales of the stewards were responsive to other goals, to represented goals, like the goals of those people that domesticated the cow and the sheep and all the other animals. I'm just about at the end here. I think, in fact, maybe this is a good point to stop because I actually used up more than my time. I'll just mention one more. Belief in belief. This is my favorite part of the book. Some people believe in God. Some people believe in belief in God. And I want to point out, more people believe in belief in God. Really? Sure. All the people who believe in God, with very few exceptions, also believe in belief in God. What is that? If you believe in belief in God, you think belief in God is a really good thing. It's really important that people believe in God. I hope everybody believes in God. I hope I continue believing in God. That's what it is to believe in belief in God. So everybody who, to a first approximation, who believes in God also believes in belief in God. And then we have all the people who've lost their faith, but who still believe in belief in God, who regret that they've lost their faith, who are embarrassed, who are ashamed, who are hoping to recover their belief in God. And it turns out that belief in God is not playing the role that it used to. The big social role today is played by belief in God. And that changes everything. On that note, I think I should stop. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, I'd like to begin by thanking Professor Dennett for writing such a marvellous book by getting a very good discussion underway. And in 20 minutes, obviously, all I can do is pick up some points. I wish I had more time, but I think he's given us a lot to think about. I've called this lecture The Spell of the Meme. Why hasn't religion died out? I mean, I think it's a central question. As many of you will know, a few months back, the World Congress of the International Academy of Humanism took place in upstate New York. And its organizers, I think, had no doubt of the urgency of their theme. Religion is regaining the ascendancy. Humanity is facing a new dark ages. And their speakers were trying to work out how on earth they could get rid of the God delusion, one of the many barriers that need to be swept away if humanity is finally to come of age. And I think it's a fascinating glimpse of the crisis of confidence that I see gripping atheism at the moment. As Guardian columnist Madeleine Bunting, who is with us tonight, pointed out when commenting on a recent TV program, there seems to be a loss of faith of some sort going on here. She writes, behind unsubstantiated assertions, sweeping generalizations, and random anecdotal evidence, there's the unmistakable whiff of panic. They fear religion is on the march again. I think you can see what Madeleine means, that, belief in God was meant to have died out years ago. When I myself was an atheist back in the late 1960s, everything seemed so simple. A bright new dawn lay just round the corner. Religion would be relegated to the past, a grim and dusty relic of a bygone age. And God was just a kind of cozy illusion for losers, best left to very inadequate and very sad people. Just a matter of time, waiting for nature to take its course. Now, of course, I was in very good company in believing this sort of thing. I think it was the smug, foolish, and fashionable wisdom of the age. And like flared jeans, it was accepted enthusiastically, if just a little uncritically. I arrived at Oxford from School of Marxists, believing that religion was the cause of all the world's evils. And as an intellectual Darwinian, it seemed to me obvious that the idea of God was on its way out, and they would be replaced by fitter and more adapted ideas like Marxism. I was a bright, to use Professor Dennett's language. But it didn't work out like that. At Oxford, to my surprise, I discovered Christianity. It was the intellectually most exhilarating and spiritually stimulating thing I could ever hope to describe. Better even than chemistry, a wonderful subject that I had thought to be the love of my life and my future career. I went on to gain a doctorate for research in molecular biophysics from Oxford and found that, really good. But I knew I had found something better, like the pearl of great price, that Jesus talks about in the gospel, which is so beautiful, so precious, that overshadows everything. It is intellectually satisfying, imaginatively engaging, and aesthetically exciting. But obviously that raised some questions for me, because I've been taught that science disproved God, that all good scientists were atheists, that science was good and religion was evil. It was a hopelified, simplified, binary opposition, of course, not unlike George Orwell and Animal Farm. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. But it suited me just fine then.